Hello YouTube. This is another video about Wraith The Oblivion. In this video I want to focus on the different places you can visit in the underworld. The first I want to mention are the Skin Lands, which is basically the realm of the living, from which you are now banished, that you have crossed the veil of death. Okay, so enough patches. You have a hard time contacting and interacting with the Skinlands if you try to, and the hierarchy I mentioned in my other video has basically forbidden any interaction with the Skinlands. But of course, it is not only is it the place where most of your passions are, or which concerns most of your passions and all your fetters are, it also is a place that is interesting economically, because you can, if you can destroy objects that are very dear to other persons, to humans, you can create relics. So if you need a new house in the underworld, go and make a gas explosion. Not very nice, is it? It isn't. And if you do, you will certainly get a lot of angst, and this will be a lot of a plus point for your shadow. But there's also the side of the spectres, who always try to cross the shroud, which is, the shroud is basically the fabric that stands between the Skinlands and the underworld. If you know Werewolf the Apocalypse, it's the gauntlet. Where was I? The spectres try to wreak havoc in the Skinlands. So, for example, they could try to motivate someone to run amok, or cause highway accidents or plane crashes or something like that. Also, sometimes they actually build sort of doomsday cults, but I'm getting too deep into the matter, I think. The next layer of, if you will, the Skinlands are on top. The next level are the Shadowlands. This is the dark mirror of the realms of the living, and all the structures that are in the realms of the living are somehow, they are like shadows. That's where the name comes from. This is a place, or the whole of the underworld is very, very dark and almost black and white. Colors are very, very rare, and also there is, most often there are terrible winds going on called soul storms, which are basically the foreboding of terrible events to come. There are more severe versions of these called maelstroms, and they are the foreboding of catastrophes. This goes so far that there are the so-called Great Maelstroms. I think in race history so far there have been 5. The last 2 were each connected to one of the world wars. So you understand how severe the occurrence has to be for one of these great maelstroms to actually occur. Actually, they ended the whole setting with the 6th great maelstrom, which was a foreshadowing of the end of the world, basically, of Gehenna, the apocalypse, and all such things. Um, okay, the next layer of this is, if you remember, Skinlands, Tempest, or Shadowlands, and here is the Tempest, which is an ad, which is uh, which are islands in a sea constantly racked by storms, and or at least the sea is the most commonly encountered version of this, because it's very symbolic. You could also be lost in a forest or some such, but I think probably not, because there is you could use that, and there are not many materials out there you can use. But the basic premise is it's some vast space in which you get lost easily, that tosses you from here to there, and there are certain islands of stability. The most easily accessible from western parts of the world is Stygia, which is basically the capital of the hierarchy, and the seeds of seed 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 of the um, of the I think Dark Lords of the Legions or some such. I'm not quite sure. This is a vast city built from buildings destroyed across the globe and across time. A very, very gigantic city. You have parts from anywhere in the world at any time. Very interesting. From here, there are also the possibility to reach other destinations in the Tempest. For example, as I mentioned, the Dark Kingdoms, which are mostly situated on other islands, and the Far Shores. These are basically paradises and hells. Some are controlled by spectres and only seem like paradises. Some are resemblances of paradises with beings in there which actually think of themselves as angels or some such. But the question if this is the real thing, mostly the answer would be probably no, but that would be too easy, would it? Yeah, the Far Shore is basically your possibility to visit any place you can think of. As I said, the setting is very open to your own creations, which is very interesting. Or even the character's imagination. If they can think of a place, they can probably find it, given enough time. So, we had the Skinlands, we had the Shadowlands, we had the Tempest, and now we go to the Labyrinth, which is this is the part that is mostly inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. This is a vast network of tunnels and caves and chasms that is constantly changing around, and in which it is crawling with spectres. They have built gigantic cities in there. There are the resting places of the so-called once-born and the so-called never-born. The once-born are basically very, very old spectres, and the once-born are something. as the name suggests, it is assumed that they never really existed in the realms of the living and are just creations of the underworld. Also, when you travel in the labyrinth, a very peculiar effect of this place is that if you ever think of ending it all, of committing suicide basically, a second time for some, and you turn around the corner, you suddenly stand at the edge of the void of oblivion, which is a gigantic energy nexus, I would probably describe it, but as this is a very symbolic place, I think you could choose any form of it you like. You could also make it a deep and vast chasm of lightless darkness. Yeah, so this entity of forgetting is everywhere there, and it's very easy to reach. Yeah, the Labyrinth is also interesting, or you will get there sooner than you think, because once something bad happens to one of your fetters, or if you lose all your corpus levels, or I think there are some other ways, but I can't think of right now, you enter a harrowing. What is a harrowing, you ask? I tell you. A harrowing is basically a theatrical play played on you. You may not even notice that it is one. You are transported to the labyrinth, and then specters begin to manipulate you, to show you something, and bring forth to you a dilemma which you have to solve, and they try to do it in a way that you will do it wrong. So sometimes you might encounter a situation where you see a loved one of yours suddenly in a boiling pot of water, not yet dead, and what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to try to rescue her? Is it her, or is it a spectre with her visage? Yeah, so this is a way in which you can lose yourself completely to the shadow. You can lose fetters. You go weaker if you fail, and you gain nothing by winning except your continued existence, but you're still in the labyrinth. Yeah. Okay, I already mentioned Soul and Maelstroms. Then the last thing, there are nihils, which are basically wormholes connecting different levels of the underworld, or sometimes places on the same level of the underworld. You don't really know where they lead, so it's a leap into the unknown. Some nihils are permanently open and are basically travel hubs. Some just flicker up and are gone again. So, I think this covers the lands of the dead pretty well. Thank you for watching, and see ya.